All right, Dr. Dubose, we are live. Are you ready to kick this thing off?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
KTTV, giving you what you need. Motivation, education unleashed. H-Town representing, we forever keep it rolling. Join the conversation with inspirational stories. Thought provoking, feel that energy. Kendrick Thomas aiming to lift the community. True indeed, tune in, come and see. Giving you what you need. KTTV, let's go. KTTV.
What it do, KTTV? This is KT, and I'm coming at you live with another episode of Education Unleashed. And on tonight's episode, I have the Chief of Schools for Stafford Municipal, not independent, Municipal School District, Dr. Don Dubose. How you doing tonight, Dr. Dubose?
Hi, Kendrick. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on. I'm good, and I cannot complain.
Hey, look, well, they tell me it won't do any good anyway, but I hear
That
you
is
though.
that is so true. That
Well,
is so.
thank you. Thank you for coming on, Doc. Like I told you, I'll probably say it about 32 times. But it's just so important to be able to get those conversations with leaders. Everybody's getting ready to start those principalship applications, assistant
Right.
principalship. And
Hmm.
so any time that we can get information out to them, especially from someone who was in your role before this, thank you.
Yes.
Hey, so I like to start um, with the wellness check because we know it's crazy out here,
Right.
whether it's inflation or it's the work or it's the home. So, how are you? And in the role that you serve, how are you finding time to balance work and self care?
Well, certainly, I would say that it's definitely it's a challenge, but it is something that I work on regularly. One of the things that I try to do, I don't know if you can relate to this. I try to take advantage of those days where I don't have to go anywhere, and that doesn't happen often. Meaning that means it's probably a Saturday. Um, I'm gonna tell you this whole thing with church online. Um, I'm one of those people that typically have gone, I would go every Sunday.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think I'm kind of doing like what they used to do in the country, like almost I might go in person and the next week I'm at home, watching, but I'm getting back into going every day,
Mhm.
every Sunday. But yeah, certainly finding those days. Sunday is my day that I really try to, I'm involved in a lot of activities.
Mhm.
So I really try to make sure that that's the day that I, get myself together and relax throughout during the year. When I think about July, that's my day when that month that I really try to shut things down and vacation and just try to just regroup.
Mhm.
So I try to do those things throughout the year, throughout the year, self care, those kinds of things that, exercise, eating well, all those things become a part of that process. So I'm trying to make sure I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. Sometimes that's a
Oh,
struggle. Um,
struggle.
but it's definitely I try to attack it from a holistic approach.
That sounds good. Now, with that, I know you talked about life in the summer. In your role, how many days do you actually get for the summer?
I don't really get that many to be honest.
Yeah.
I really don't get that many. So a lot of times, what I try to make sure that I do is the good news is we typically have the 4 day weeks, which I love
Hmm.
during the summertime. So
Yes.
that's an opportunity to really relax and
Hmm.
stretch those weekends out. So that helps a lot because I don't have as much time. I'm a 12-month employee. I have been for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I haven't been a 12-month employee.
Man.
Um, so yeah, those it really helps to have those 4 day weeks in the summertime.
Yeah, just getting it in and year round. I tell you, it's only with the rain that we appreciate the sunshine.
Yes, exactly.
So, just getting into a little bit about you. 2019, you became chief of school for Stafford, right?
Yes.
So, for the people that don't know, can you tell us a little bit more about that role, and even some of the educational experiences that prepped you for that role?
Okay. So, first of all, my role that my it's pretty much in my title. My goal is to I'm here to support the schools.
Hmm.
So what that means is that all of the principals report to me, and because I'm in a smaller district, this is what makes my situation a little unique, or even some of my colleagues from smaller districts can relate to that. I also have departments. So not only do I supervise the principals, but I have multiple departments like technology, I have athletics, college and career readiness, fine arts. And then with that, I also lead four of our stakeholder groups, and that includes our district advisory committee, safety and security, which has been huge, huge, huge this year. This year has taken up a lot of time, but certainly we want to put that time in because we want our families and we want the people that work on our campuses to feel comfortable and to feel safe. In addition to that, I lead our school health committee. Actually, it's called the School Health Advisory Committee and the District Calendar Committee. And then I still have to prepare board items for our meetings that occur every month, or prepare for workshops uh, that come up. So that's what I do on a daily basis, in addition to, unfortunately, grievances, parent concerns, and all those things that kind of rise up. We always hope that parents can resolve issues at the school level, but unfortunately, some of those things make it to our office, or to my office, shall I say. And in terms of how I got here, my pathway has been, it was pretty traditional. I was a education major. I was an early childhood education major. Out of college, I taught pre-K. Actually started out
Hey,
in North Forest. I was there for 4.5 years.
come on now.
I was in Houston ISD for 22 years. And there I was a counselor, an assistant principal. I was what was called a regional parent assistance manager, a principal, and I did that work for um, close to 9 years. And then I left Houston as the leadership development officer, where we supported all 287 schools and provided training and worked with a lot of the emerging leaders. We worked with the appraisal systems. For a little while, I even had alternative certification, and we had teacher leaders. So leaving, before leaving, I Houston was good to me. I had some really good opportunities there. So everything that I did, every single position that I held prior to coming into this position, chief of schools, prepared me. Everything. I have used every single position that I had in the past. There was knowledge that I was able to use, that I'm able to use in this job today.
Yeah. And when you switched over, let's say from leadership officer to your current role, okay, so now you're coming from like really being that foot on the ground and coaching and building
Hmm.
to, okay, well, I see what's happening, but I got to put it off, and
Hmm.
I kind of talk to somebody else, and I got to, give it up because I got bigger things on the side.
Hmm.
Well, how was it hard to make that shift? Maybe in the first few years.
Well, I can definitely tell you that I really loved that work. It was
Mhm,
great work. And during that time, we obtained a $47 million grant. It was the Teacher School Leader Incentive Grant, and it was one of the largest grants that the district ever received. And so we were able to provide stipends and bonuses and send people to school, because ultimately the goal was to support and retain our highly qualified and effective employees
yeah.
in the district. Now, saying that, I still get to do some of that. It's
Okay.
not to the same extent that I did there. That's all I did.
Mhm,
But here, I still get to do that type of work. Now, I feel like I'm kind of like the jack of all trades, because my hand is here and there.
yeah.
And one of the things that I didn't share is that even in this role, I work with the counselors and the nurses. So, so with that, it in Houston, I had to deal with a lot of volume, because you're having to service so many schools and so many principals. Here, I'm just kind of split all over the place,
Mhm.
trying to make sure that I'm doing my part to help with to help the district run.
Yeah, help the district run. And now let's get a little bit more into that as we talk about the leadership officer. So
Yeah.
2016 to 2019, that was your tenure.
Yes.
During that time, were there, I don't know, but I want to say maybe quirks or common, not even faults, but just common ideas that new principals coming in had to learn,
Yeah,
that you would say, okay, well, this is a big issue coming out of certifications programs. But then the caveat to that question is, that still the same thing you're seeing today with
I
new
would,
principals?
yes, I would say one of the things that people still struggle with is what we call competing priorities,
Mm,
because during the course of the day,
yeah,
um, you're dealing with so many different things. You've got, your supervisor, your, depending on what district you're in, whether you're a SSO or an executive principal or whomever, you've got people that are telling you things that you have to do for compliance. And then you've got, some kid on your campus that's hurt. You've got all these different things that are going on. You have stuff that's due. You have all these things that are happening. So it becomes the balancing act, and then sometimes it becomes a matter of, you've got all these things in front of you. What do you do first? And so I think that still can be a challenge. So those are things that, certainly safety always comes first, right? And then the second thing is, you're the instructional leader, so you certainly want to focus on instruction. That is your biggest piece.
mhm.
And then the other part of that would be, um, you might need to handle something that's going to get you on the news, and you
Okay,
have to have that foresight, and you have to be able to anticipate.
yeah,
That's a leadership skill.
mm,
You have to be able to anticipate what's going to happen or how something is going to play out. So you've got to have some foresight, because if you're not able to anticipate, you're going to end up in a lot of situations. Or if you're not able to balance those priorities, something is going to fall through the cracks. And it's already hard. It's very, well, let me say, it was actually very easy for things to fall through the cracks, because
mhm,
there's so many things that have to be done within
yeah.
the course of a day.
Man, that was so powerful. I think you hit the nail on the head. You think about even some of those basket exercises that they have. It's like, okay, you got all these things going, put them in priority list or
Right.
something. And so that just shows to go how important being able to do that is. So awesome, awesome answer. Like I say, people need that.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about your time at the STEM
Yes.
school. So was you said it was STEM magnet school?
Yes, yes, it was a STEM magnet, and STEM is like, I love STEM education, and it's funny because I come from a different perspective. I love it because I know that there's so many opportunities for boys and girls, young men
Yeah.
and women. So I know that there's a lot of opportunity, and I fell in love with STEM actually because of some of my shortcomings. Many of us grew up with, oh, well, I'm not very good at math, or there were some times, oops, there were times that, sorry about that.
Oh no, we look.
I
That's
told myself,
live.
there have been times that, um, I wish I would have had stronger teachers in certain areas. And really, when it comes to STEM education, it is about making sure we're putting really good people in front of our kids, because we have to make sure, especially with girls, that they have the confidence to feel like they can do the work.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I know through STEM education, and the thing about it is, everyone's not going to go into a STEM field, but what I do know is that if they're prepared,
Mm,
and if students can come out of fifth grade uh, meeting or mastering skills in math and science, that's going to put them in a path to be able to start taking pre-AP classes. And those are the kinds of things that start to build confidence with kids. So I know, and I also know that if they decide not to go in a STEM field, it's going to, at least if they're strong in those areas,
yeah.
now I know that this kid is going to be college ready in the
Mhm.
future.
Yeah.
So strong, strong, strong advocate. I like to advocate because there are some pieces. I was a good student, but those are some areas I could have been stronger in. So with that, I know that we have to ensure that, activities are
Yeah.
engaging and hands-on and relevant. We all know about Bill Daggett, the work around rigor, relevance, and relationships and all of that. So we have to make that a part of the work that we do in STEM education.
Yeah. And you think about your time, I want to say 2008.
Yes.
So thinking about where STEM was then, and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden, like it was going. You still doing the work, foundation. Because for me, this was like early. Then I say around 2014, 2015, bam, buzz. So now you got so many STEM academies coming up and all this.
Right.
Had you seen a big difference in how far it came from when you were the principal then to maybe like we're talking about first Lego League to where we are now?
Yes, I think that teachers are being better prepared in that regard. I don't think that teachers don't seem to be as afraid. You're going to have your teachers that, they're literacy people, they love reading, but it doesn't appear that people are as afraid. I believe that there's more tools and resources out there to ensure that teachers are prepared to put that content in front of our students.
Mhm.
So I will certainly say that, people have come on board. There's a lot of, uh, I had an opportunity to work with the Smithsonian Science Institute. And there's a lot of people, a lot of industry is out there, certainly putting the resources and pushing areas of STEM, because ultimately these kids need to come into the workforce.
Yeah.
So you certainly see that there's a lot more opportunities, a lot more grants, and quite frankly, I guess it's just become a lot more sexy, uh, in that regard.
Yeah,
So,
that's it. Like you say, I just want to do a PBL.
yeah,
So now, thinking about your time at that school as the leader, when I talked to Principal Kofele, we talked about the AP role. No, he's
yeah,
always doing the camps. I just seen he had Robert Jackson on, who I'm
hmm
talking
yeah,
to
he's
right
great.
now.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying. Look, I'm
Both of
trying
them,
to.
both of them are
Yeah.
great.
So, what he says is the AP role is the most underutilized role in education. So as we look at that role, and like I said with the preface earlier, we got that time where people are coming out of the classroom looking for those AP roles,
Hmm.
APs looking for principals. In that role of the AP, and I know you said the instructional leader, so we focus on that instruction.
Hmm.
But how else can I prepare myself as an AP to even move to the next level?
Right. So as an AP, you almost have to bogart your way,
Yeah,
because what happens is, um, the day happens, you've got all these fires that you're putting out. Of course, we know that most APs have to work with discipline.
yeah.
Buses, butts,
Hey,
all that.
business busting and
You
butt.
know that you got to do it.
Yeah,
That's it. It has to be done. Somebody has to do it. But you almost have to bogart your way, and to make sure that you are purposefully staying abreast, purposefully being involved in those pieces that are going, especially if you desire to be a principal. One of the things that I always like to know with APs, the first question I always like to know, the areas of certification and what did they teach, because that's going to prompt, coaching. So, for example, um, if I meet someone and their background is literacy, I'll say, hey, uh, why don't you delve into math?
mhm,
How do you feel about math? Okay, it's time for you to learn that side.
mhm,
It's time to strengthen those areas that you may not touch as much, and vice versa. If you're math, hey, and I would say really the first part, you really need to focus on literacy.
mhm.
That's probably a primary area. But
Yeah,
if you're a math person, then okay, look at literacy. And then if you are, let's say you're a person, let's say your background is a PE teacher, I'll say, okay, so you didn't really teach math, you didn't really teach reading. So my first piece of advice is literacy,
yeah,
focus on literacy, understand the components. Now, the other side of that could be this, depending on the needs of your campus or depending on where you're going. So let's say there's a math problem at a place that you may be going to. But again, primarily, like I said, the key is, like I said, focus on literacy,
yeah.
focus on literacy, And then, like I said, just try to round out your experience. But you have to bogart because it's very, very easy. Your day can be tied up with IATs and, like I said, parent complaints
Yeah.
and cafeteria duty
Hey.
and morning duty and after school duty and those types of things. So
Yeah.
you have to make sure you're going to those PLCs. And more than anything, you have to know how to coach teachers.
Yes.
You have to, because a lot of that is going to determine even your credibility.
Mhm.
So you've got to know how, and you have to have those tools to be able to coach. And there's tools out there.
Yeah.
There's different pieces that you can use between, what is it? I'm trying to think of the book that we've been using.
Mhm. No,
It's a
we're using the Get Better Faster a lot over
Yes,
here.
that's what we've been using. We've
Hmm.
been using, it was escaping me. And really what it is, it's a resource book.
Yes.
So if you have that book at your fingertip, it's not a book that you read from page, it is a
Hmm.
resource book.
Yes.
So that is it's almost like a little Bible
Hmm.
for coaching, so that you can give that direct and quick feedback,
Yep.
and just really understanding that process of giving feedback to teachers. So
Yeah.
that's critical. Knowing how to do that is critical.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I know we used the book, kind of broke up the ILT. Like everybody had a list of teachers.
Hmm.
Used that book, kept those weekly meetings, feedback quickly,
Absolutely.
and then we spreadsheeted. And so now we see, okay, well, we have this amount of teachers struggling with this or this struggling with this, and then like that's how we was able to train them. So I agree, very much a resource.
Right. Yeah, it's
Um,
not it's not it's not fun reading cover to cover. You
yeah,
use it as a resource, but can be familiar with it,
yeah.
because it is something that can be used, in working with teachers.
Yeah, we use, I'll say, between that one and leverage leadership.
Yes.
Yeah, just putting the work in, Doc. So
Yes.
now, I want to get your opinion on this as we talk about APs. Utopia deemed these 7 pieces the top tips for influential school leaders. Um, Focus on respect rather than popularity. Establish clear goals. Listen to input from the staff. Lead by example. Provide regular constructive feedback. Delegate and make meetings matter. Which one is your top?
So I'm a big culture person.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so in order to do all those other things, so what I'm going to say is I will start with the first one, which is focus on respect. And in front of respect needs to be mutual respect.
Mm.
It needs to be mutual. And so it's going to be very difficult. Relationships are, really critical. And so it's going to, if the respect is not there, it's going to be very difficult to work with teachers. It's going to be difficult to work with parents. So that has to be in your repertoire, mutual respect. And so you start there,
Yeah.
and then you can start, in my opinion, moving on to those other pieces of, setting those goals and
Mm.
listening and watching your airtime, to really ensure that you're grasping what people are sharing with you. And
Yeah.
of course, the leading by example and all those. So mutual respect is critical. I think it's number one.
Number one, like you say, because if it's not there, it will be a long year, and I
Yeah,
can
don't
promise
don't
you that.
yeah, don't expect someone to disrespect you. You need to respect them too.
Most definitely. Let's see here. So we got Jarrell. Hey,
Mhm.
what's going on, Jarrell? Let's see what he say. There's true. There's so many things that go on during the day. I agree, brother. Well, hey. So a few seasons ago, I had Dr. Creer on, who
Mhm.
was our area superintendent.
Yes.
So we talked about building new leaders, and she talked about her work that she did in Fort Bend at Bush, and so it was all about the culture and climate. And
Mhm.
she gave us 4 pieces that
Mhm.
she used as a guide. I think it was like vision, presence. I can't remember the other two, but
Mhm.
do you have any words of wisdom as you say new leaders coming into a building or
Mhm.
even APs coming into a new building to get those teachers in?
Yeah. So one of the things, let me see. Certainly, one of the things you need to do people want to be treated like professionals. I'm going to say that again.
Yeah.
People want to be treated like professionals. So what that means is you want to provide and exercise flexibility. You want to exercise choice. So let me give you some concrete examples.
Come on, Doc.
Uh, and I'm gonna put my principal hat on, okay? So when you get to know your staff really well, especially like I said, I was there for almost 9 years. I'm sorry, there's just some everybody has these internal clocks, right?
Mhm.
And so you kind of know who your people are that's driving in the parking lot on one tire. You know your people that's going to be there 6 o'clock in the morning. You know your people that as soon as it rings, and they may have come in early because what I have learned is most people, it's very few people that are like the 8 to 3 people. That's actually a small number. Normally they come in a little bit early and then they leave, or they get there right there on time and then they stay late. That's typically what I found. And so it becomes like this. So let's say you want teachers to do duty, right? Why would you have the person on duty that is driving on one tire to get in every day to be in the cafeteria? That's
Agreed.
that's the person that needs to have the after school duty.
Yes.
And then the person that that's driving off at 3 o'clock, they're burning the parking lot at the end of the day. The person that comes at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
that's the person you put in. So you try to create those opportunities so that people can be successful.
Yes.
Okay. So whenever you can find those avenues of flexibility, and you want to do that. That was just kind of an example.
Yeah.
Um, be fair, be authentic, admit when you make mistakes.
Mm.
I Most people that know me, they know I'm pretty calm, cool, and collective. I'm kind of right there all the time. And I remember one time. Actually, this isn't when I was a principal. I was a leadership development officer, and I remember someone. It was like they really irritated me, and I snapped.
Yeah.
I mean, not like it wasn't like crazy
Yeah. The
snap,
professional snap.
but it was a
Yeah.
little
You
snap.
feel it.
It wasn't because I'm normally right here,
Yeah.
and so what I did was, and it just goes to say this is something that a principal can do. This is something that an assistant principal can do. But I made sure I recognized what I did, and I went back and I apologized to that person, and I apologized to that person in public.
Mm.
And so I believe that went a long way. I didn't, but yeah, I did it publicly. So you have to admit when you make mistakes. The other thing that you have to do is you have to find ways to highlight and utilize the talent of the people that work in your buildings. Be a strength finder. Yes, we do want to build up those areas in which they might be struggling or in which they need assistance, but also capitalize on those strengths that people have. One of the things that I was really big on in every interview I ever had as a principal, I always asked the candidate, what do you want to do? And I would specifically say, I think Ada, I can't think of the council member's name that used to be on 102, but her tagline, she would always say, if everybody does something, everything gets done.
Mm.
So my expectation was when you come to this campus, what are you going to do? Are you going to tutor? Are you going to lead a club? What are you going to do? And so that was every interview that I had, that question was always asked. So when things were coming up and things were needed to be done, like, hey, remember that time? I said, we really did mean that. We don't want to wear anybody out.
Yeah.
And so if we can get everybody to do something, we can run this school. So you have to set those expectations early, out the door, out the gate.
Mhm. Out the gate. What Jarrell said, mutual respect is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And I think you said what, Ada Edwards.
Yeah, Ada Edwards, yes.
Yeah.
I come remember, yes. Because she
Yes.
used to say that on 102. That she said it all the time.
Mm.
Everybody does something, everything gets done.
Now, with building that culture comes the good, but
Mhm.
then we got the culture vultures,
Yes,
right? So,
absolutely.
what I want to know is, have you ever encountered a culture vulture that took you there? And how do you explain, or how would you coach a principal into dealing with that culture vulture? Because that's a part of the process.
So at Stafford, the principals, hopefully they don't get tired of me. I hope they don't.
Yeah,
But I believe in frameworks, and I believe in practical experience, but also believe in books and book studies and that type of thing.
most
So
definitely.
when I saw that about the culture vultures, the first thing I thought about was the energy bus,
Come on now.
the energy bus. And so in the energy bus, they make reference to the energy vampires, right? So one of the things in working with principals or when I have conversations with people, you have to strategize around that. I remember like whenever I, needed to have like a difficult conversation with someone, sometimes I save that energy vampire for the end of the day because I needed my energy for all day and I didn't want it like, sometimes something can happen in the morning and it just takes all of the energy out of you. So sometimes you had to be very strategic about when you have certain conversations.
Most definitely.
Another book is called Shaping School Culture.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And it is by Terrence Deal and Kent Peterson. And in that particular book, they make reference to saboteurs, pessimistic storytellers, keepers of the nightmare, negaholics, prima donnas, space cadets, martyrs, and
Mhm.
deadwood and driftwood. And so the thing about it is not so much to categorize people, but what it does is kind of have an idea of how you see or the characteristics that people are showing. It begins to say, okay, how do I work with this person? How do we turn this around? And then the other book is Transforming School Culture. And this one is by Anthony Muhammad. And so Anthony Muhammad talks about the believers, the tweeners, the survivors, and the fundamentalists. And so that's another way to kind of see where does this person fall. The believers, of course, those are the people, those are your early adopters, they're always ready to go. They generally have strong credibility. You got your tweeners. Your tweeners can fall, you kind of got to watch them because they could be a believer or they could become a survivor or they could become a fundamentalist.
Mm.
And then, of course, the survivor is kind of obvious. They're just trying to make it.
Yeah.
And then you have your fundamentalists, and it can sound very negative, uh, but sometimes they're the distractor.
Mhm.
Sometimes they have a lot to contribute, but you got to just kind of figure out, you know, where some of these people fall. So to answer your question, you must confront it.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, you have to shield your your tweeners.
Mhm.
You've got to focus on recruiting the right staff. You've got to celebrate positive works. You've got to work to reduce negative norms and behavior. And you have to work towards new traditions and systems.
Mhm.
And so those are the things that you have to do to try to pull that culture together. So those are things that I can say I've done, but I also can back some of this up,
Mm.
or if people need something to follow, these are some pieces, that can help.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's it. We're gonna shut it down. Y'all have a good night. I think we just had an entire leadership semester tonight, right then. No, awesome. I remember going to see Ron Clark
Hmm.
when he came here, and so in there he talked about the same thing about the bus, right? And so then the people that's on the bus, so just
You got to get them in
uh,
the right seat.
yeah,
Sometimes you got to get them off the bus.
yeah,
I mean,
that was
and
it.
and that does not have to be ugly. That does
Yes.
not have to be ugly. I tell people this all the time. This is my 30th year in education, and
Mhm.
I've been an administrator for a long time. And in all my years, I call it no one has never flipped the table on me yet.
Yeah. Hey.
And a lot of it is because I've had those conversations. There were never any surprises, short of them doing something that required that they had to exit immediately.
Yeah.
But but for the most part, you know what I mean. You know what
Yeah.
those things can be.
Yeah. Man,
But
yeah.
for the
Yeah.
most part, if there were things that were identified, there were no surprises.
Yeah. 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 The most important lesson that I learned early in my career. Because when you first get that AP job, you're like, yeah, they just gonna do it just because I'm the AP. Like this it. But no, it wasn't like that. Like you say, I learned. But it's not about what you when you do have to make that decision. It's not about what I did to fire you. It's about what I did to support you.
Right,
And we both see it just didn't work out.
right,
Right. And
right.
so as I grew, being able to have that mindset as you like you say, coaching and you growing others, then it made everything simple because we have those conversations and we say, yeah, this kind of just not,
Yeah,
and
yeah. So
but
yeah, so sometimes you end up assisting with them with an exit plan or
yeah,
what would work best for them. And we
yeah,
don't want to get to that point. We really do want to,
hmm
if people want to do this work and they have the ability and the strength to do it and the mindset to do it, hey, let's do this.
yeah,
But there is a time where we have to have different conversations, and
yeah,
but hopefully in most cases you'll be able to um, help them
yeah.
succeed and be a successful educator.
That's it. Coach them up.
Mhm,
That's it. Now, talking about STEM, as we move over,
mhm,
like I said, we talked about you just being at the foundation level, and that's just my knowledge base. But
mhm,
like I say, from just seeing it go, March 11th, we got first Lego League in the building.
mhm. Yes.
How did you all get connected with that, and how have you seen your program grow just as a result of being in that competition?
So I will say this: I cannot take credit for any of that, and
Hmm.
that's where I was a good match for Stafford,
Yeah.
because again, like I said, I have a great love for STEM.
Hmm.
So one of the things you may not know, our superintendent, who I support his work,
Yeah.
he's a big technology guy,
Hmm.
and so a lot of those through different relationships. And when he came on board, he's been in Stafford now close to 8 to 9 years. That was a lot of work that he did, and so, in that regard, we're, pretty well rooted. But yeah, he's into robotics and drones
Yeah.
and all those things. And so, and I know that was one of the reasons he definitely was interested in me being here,
Hmm.
because he knew that a lot of the work that I did was around STEM education. So in that regard, we definitely complemented each other and had the same passion
Yeah.
for that. But he definitely gets the credit. We have another person. Her name is Sharice Roberts, here in our district. She's done a lot of work around that. So one thing I don't ever like to do is
Let's say
I
ball
like to,
hog.
I like to watch my pronouns. I'm
Yeah.
not taking all the credit, because there's so many other people that contribute, um, and do great things for our district.
Yeah. Now, are they working? How does that program work? Like, because it's a lot. Or is it built into the curriculum, or is it something like we meet after school?
So we for some of our kids, so let me like our STEM program is a little different.
Uh huh.
One of the things, STEM is an initiative across the board.
Yes.
So we've got these different labs in our different buildings to support that learning. And then we do have some robotic classes
Yeah.
like after school. And then we have at the STEM school, it's actually built into the day.
Yeah.
But we also, one of our new initiatives that we have is we have gaming now. And matter of fact, we have some kids that have already, this was our first year, we've got a gaming instructor, and those students have already gone to competition and have already started placing.
Yeah.
So our goal is to that, and that's one of the good things about being in a smaller district. You can kind of turnkey initiatives a little quicker,
Yeah.
and so that's one of the things we've got. It's really neat because you've got some kids that they have found a home um, in that area, because
Yeah.
we all know in order to keep kids in school, they have to connect to something. And
Gotta
for
be relevant.
some kids, it's different things.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's the academics, but we know that football, band, cheerleading, gaming, esports, uh, those are the kinds of things that keep kids going.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, that has become a part of our programming. We at the STEM school, we have accelerated a lot of the instruction is very much accelerated. So, for example, By the time our eighth graders finish from the STEM school, they've already earned multiple credits for high school.
Hmm.
So that means when our eighth graders leave, when they finish, they've already completed credits. I want you to listen to this now. They've already completed credits in algebra and geometry and biology
Okay.
and foreign language.
Okay. That's powerful.
So what that means is when they get into that means that when they go to high school, that puts
Yeah.
them in a position that means they're going to be taking calculus,
Yeah.
right? They're going to be taking physics, they're going to be taking chemistry, and more than likely a lot of them will be taking you know AP
Hmm.
physics and AP calculus.
Yeah.
So we're really proud of the work that we're able to do in terms of accelerating instruction. I went into one of our biology class. A matter of fact, one of the top winners at the HAPSI Teacher of the Year was our one of our biology teachers,
Hmm.
um, Miss Scranton. And so went in her classroom one day, and our kids are in there dissecting sheep brains.
Okay. That was real.
Yeah, that's real.
Yes. but that's the
Not
work though.
frogs, sheep brains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but the biggest part is you think about the power of being able to earn those credits, and you think about how sometimes those kids don't get a chance to skip, but they're really more advanced, and so now they're bored right in class, and then it takes you in a whole different direction. But if you're already challenging me as soon as I walk in the gate and I'm loving
Right.
it, you got me
Right. Right.
like from square one.
Right. And then the other part of that is, I know that other districts have it, but we're seeing remarkable success with our early college program.
Hmm.
So our numbers continue to increase with the number of kids that are receiving their associate degrees before they leave here.
Yeah.
And so again, we definitely are working to make sure that we can challenge all of our students in the district.
Yeah, I'm so glad to get back to being smart is cool.
Right.
Like, and so I think we on the way back. It's taking a little while, but
Yeah.
I feel like we turning the corner because, like you
Yeah.
say, when you see those numbers grow, when you see kids fighting for positions at the CTE
Mhm.
career centers and all these pieces, you saying, okay, they're really understanding or getting that
Right.
it's something post high school, and I got to find it. Right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
awesome work.
yeah, and we definitely still have to work with our kids because there are some kids that do not desire to have an academic
Yeah.
persona,
Hmm.
an academic identity. So we had to continue to find ways to engage those students,
Yeah.
so that they'll know it's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
just look, man, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, Doc, as we get ready to close this thing out, I always like reaching out to the stakeholders, and so it's almost like the pitch deck, as you got the sign in the back.
Mm-hmm.
As the chief of schools for Stafford MSD,
Mm-hmm.
why should I bring my kid there?
Several reasons. It's funny. I shared earlier that I worked in Houston. Houston was good for me, and Houston has some excellent programs. But Stafford is very different from Houston. So some of the things that I know that attract people here is that we're a close knit community. You probably know from coming here that our all of our schools are on really one big huge campus, and it looks like a college environment.
Mhm.
So if you have if you're a parent, you have multiple kids, you don't have to drive far. They're all right here.
Mhm.
We have strong academic programs, and we have excellent teachers.
Yes.
And so, but it's almost like it's a public school, but almost still like a private school experience.
Mhm. Yeah, and like you said, the biggest thing is with those initiatives, being able to turn them over faster, being able to bring kids more direct.
Hmm.
Hey, money. That's all it is. Now, closing out for our leaders,
Hmm.
our aspiring leaders. Give us them last words of knowledge as we get ready to interview. And thank you for helping me tonight.
Yes, yes. So certainly, you need to study your craft. You need to be a continuous learner, and
Yeah,
you have to be coachable.
yeah,
Um, um, People, supervisors, superintendents, SSOs, executive directors, whatever you want to call them, they do not want to hire people that are not coachable. You've got to learn how to take feedback. Just like we give teachers feedback, you got to be able to accept feedback, right? So certainly learning your craft, being a continuous learner, find schools that that are a good fit for you and districts, because just based on our conversations, we know that all schools and districts have different climate and culture. So certainly, finding that place that's a good fit for you. And this is something else. I normally say this about teachers, but I want to say this for administrators. Like kids, love kids, like teachers.
Period.
Yeah, a question that is sad. We can't take this for granted. It has to be like, do you like kids?
Yeah.
And if you're a leader, you need to like teachers too.
Yes. Most
and
definitely.
Then lastly, certainly remember your why every day. Remember it every day.
That's it. I mean, I think that's yeah, I'm at the alternative school. So no 2 days are the same, right? And so but what always keeps me grounded is why I got into this. And so these are not bad kids. These are kids who need a little bit more love. And so that's why you got into this, to be able to love on people, right? And go through or grow through those times with them. So I agree. I always remember that why, Doc.
I tell people all the time, because people get very frustrated by behaviors of kids. I will say any day that the kids are easier than the adults. The thing about it is, we know that children are there are universal things that kids do. We're the adults, so we have to know how to handle kids. And I hate to use the word handle, but manage, whatever term you want to use, whatever term you feel comfortable with. But they do universal things. I was an elementary principal. I knew every year a kid was going to stick something in their nose, or they were going to stick it in their ear. They were going to get scissors. They were going to cut somebody else's hair, or they were going to cut somebody else's hair.
Yeah.
And I also knew that there was going to be some little boy that went out on the playground and used the restroom out there, fill in the blanks on that.
Yeah.
That's what kids do.
Yeah.
And we know that, our frontal lobe cortex is not developed until what? Well, for men, it takes y'all a little bit longer.
25 or something.
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer for you all. I mean, so those are the kinds of things we have to come into this work knowing that and remembering that every day. And it's just universal things that kids do. And so we just have to remember that along with the why.
Yeah, I agree. But to me, I think that was about the why should kids come to Stafford. And Jarrell said, remember the why always. Most definitely. Well, Doc, I want to say thank you again for taking some time out. You dropped so many good jewels on us. I look forward to just being able to share this, run those clips, because like I say, I know them posts are going out. And so people are getting their minds right, because I want to. And so being able to, have those conversations, be able to refer back to a lot of the leaders that I talked to who dropped those nuggets, I don't take it for granted. And I'll just say thank you again.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Okay, y'all. This is KT for KTTV signing out. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
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 KTTV. Is that right?